Hi, I'm Gregory, and this week on the Friday Forge, we're going to make a chessboard for my dad made out of purple heart and ash. Let me fly towards my hands, towards my hands. So this week, Brigham and I, we went to Woodworker Source down in Tempe, Arizona, to pick up some lumber for this project that I'm going to be making for my dad's birthday. We're currently working on chessboards. We actually have dark walnut and cherry that we're working on. Brigham is almost done, so we'll have that up on Etsy here pretty soon. But I had to kind of take a pause on that project on my end so that I can do this for my dad's birthday. His is next month in March. So we went down to Woodworker Source, and they actually have 1 3/4 inch turning boards already. So we had in those original boards that we're currently making with the dark walnut and cherry, those are actually going to be 2-inch squares. This is 1 3/4 square, so it will be smaller than tournament size, but I think it will work a little bit better for my dad because he doesn't have that much place, and he doesn't play chess as much anymore. So we actually think that this would make a nice travel board size. Plus, it's already planed and sanded. We'll be able to glue these without having to do too much. So we're hoping that this would actually make it easier for us when we're mass producing boards, just to cut down on time. So let's go ahead and we'll glue these up and we'll continue on with the process. I'm opting to use Titebond 2 extended wood glue. I think it's going to be a little bit better. Even Brigham on our last glue up, even with my last glue up, it seemed that they're setting a little bit too quickly before I can level out what I need to level. And I'm pretty new to all this for the most part, so any extra time that I can get is quite the blessing. Now, I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this video have also watched Would You Make It and MTG. A lot of our inspiration comes from those guys. So you'll see when they do their glue ups, especially Would You Make It, he has that platform. I think I'm definitely going to do that here pretty soon. I'm sure I'll regret gluing these all up at once because my planer is only 12.5 inches and this is at 14 inches, so I'm sure I will regret it, but we'll live. One thing that I believe in when making these videos is I'm just going to show you. Even if this thing is messed up to where I need to go purchase more, I don't care, I'll show you, and I'll still put out the video because why not? The whole part of the Friday Forge is to share our experiences through our fails and successes. So if we fail, we'll still put it out along with the one that I make. That will be good. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll run it through the crosscut sled and we'll go from there. So yeah, not too bad, but there are some high spots in here. So I think what I'm going to do is sand with 320 grit and see what comes of that. Okay, so we're going to get to sanding. I'm actually going to use 120 grit
there's some pretty good high spots on here, so hopefully that will take it out. I'm not looking to get it completely perfect. We'll worry about that later on in life, but just enough to take off the sanding or the high spots so I don't have to worry about major issues down the line, hopefully. But like I said, even if we do, you know, life goes on, and I'll show them to you anyway. I think that's going to be good enough for now, but I can tell you with 100% certainty, Brigham, Jen, and I, our next major purchase is going to be a drum sander, because that's not fun. But as we're learning, you know, you do with what you have, and that's okay. Life goes on. And I think this will be good enough, especially when we clamp it. There's some raised parts, but nothing I don't think a glue up will take care of. So I think we'll be all right. Let's go and cross cut this bad boy and hopefully not screw it up there. I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but I'm really nervous because I don't want this to mess up. But what we'll do is we will get a straight edge here, and we will start cross cutting. Okay, so we've got them all cross-cut, and look, the bottom line is I'm a noob, and you can see there's some massive imperfections that I don't even think if I put on the biggest clamp in the planet can make these things laminate perfectly. So I talked to Brigham, and I think what we'll be able to do, first of all, I think they look nice. I think it's good. I think 3/4 of an inch thick. It looks nice on this. I even laminated, or excuse me, cross-cut some of our walnut and cherry ones that we're doing at a 1/4 inch. So I think those worked out great because, well, Brigham made them, and you know, that's just the way it is. So I think what we'll do with these to get them perfectly, not perfectly straight, but at least flat. There's so many seams here. I think even with enough pressure is still going to show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the jointer, and I'm just going to take off the slightest amount on the edge, because it's edge grain, not end grain. So I think that will work out beautifully. So cross our fingers. If not, I think I'm going to have to go back to Woodworker Source and do this all from scratch, but we'll see how it goes. Here we go. We're just going to go off smooth slow passes. Just millimeter by millimeter until we get this right. So after joining them, I'm pretty stoked about the results. I think this is a lot better. We're at least going to have a much better glue up. Pretty excited. We still got some serious flaws, though, as you can see here. There's definitely some high spots, and that's okay. I think we'll be able to do fine with the orbital sander. Worst case scenario, we're going to take it to Woodworker Source and have them do it. The one thing I'm a little upset about is the alignment. For instance, you can see here, hopefully with glue up, I'll be able to dial these in a bit more, but they're definitely not what I was hoping for. But for the first try, you know, I can't be too mad, and I think my dad will be stoked here regardless. But chances of me selling the other one, highly doubt it. But we'll see. It all just depends on the final product. Maybe the final product will
be a little bit better. So let's go ahead and glue these up, and hopefully that will fix a lot of our problems. So I think we're at the point of overkill on glue, but that's okay. Because I did such a bad job of glue up earlier on the initial phase that I'm willing to overkill here to get it right. So here we go. And when I was looking online for how I should clamp this, I like how MTM Wood, he just goes for it. He puts it in his pipes and calls it a day. Line this up as best as we can here. The other thing too is the reason why I'm kind of just to the point where I'm just going to glue this and do it is because even the alignment of these are off, and I just can't, you'll see when we, oh, see that? Look at that. I already messed up. Open these. So one of the problems I have when I'm gluing up is this side always runs on me. This always lifts up. So I'm trying to get the edges as straight as I can. Okay, so it is the next morning, and let's go ahead and see how the board did. There's for sure some high spots, but I got some 36 grit sandpaper that I think will take care of it, even though we don't have a drum sander, which is definitely something we're going to need. So let's come on in closer here and see what we've got working for us. We also ordered a new tripod head, because this isn't working. So, on my hat so you guys don't have to see my bald spot from earlier. It's disturbing. Okay. Yeah, not too shabby. Definitely some glue up here to clean up, but I think, yeah, it's held together really well. There's no break in that. So, not too shabby, and that grain is just fantastic.
lot of wood smells amazing when you cut it. This Purple Heart reeks. I could live without that.
Let's go ahead and we'll work on the border now. We'll do plane these all the sides, and then we'll start working on which method I want to use for actually creating the border. So next we're going to use a 1/2 inch mortising hinge bit, and we're going to route out the edge here so that we can get basically a floating shelf so that it will rest on top of the border, and will look like the plane surface is floating. Tested it on a scrap piece, seemed to work well, so here's hoping that we don't mess this up, but I think we will be okay. Okay, I'm actually pleased with that. So we can get you in closer here. And we'll follow that up on the other ones. We'll go from there. Let's work on the border now. I've gone through many variations in my head, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple. MTM keeps it simple as well, where two boards will be longer than the other instead of doing a 45-degree angle. So not the best edges or corners or anything of that nature, but it's going to be good enough to glue. I already did a test fit. I think we'll be okay. There's some play in here as well, which I'm okay with because wood will expand and contract. I mean, I've not even glued up my ash and, my cherry and walnut boards yet, and already just day to day I can already see them expanding, contracting. They bow in like a C. So having a little bit of play in here, I think might serve me well in the end. So let's go ahead, we'll lay down some parchment paper and we'll start gluing this up. Border's finished and we have a nice tight fit. No more of that slop like we had before, which is great. All I had to do was just chip off a little bit with the chisel here on the edge. Not a big deal. And now it's a nice tight fit. And it actually fits really snug so that when it comes time to gluing this up, it will be nice and tight, not going anywhere. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sand down the frame. Obviously, it's not the greatest, and more than likely, not even right angle, but that's okay to the naked eye. It looks not too shabby. We'll sand this down. We'll see if there's any gaps in the seam, and then I'll just fill that with Purple Heart sawdust. I'll take off this edge here with my flat edge knife, and we'll go from there. After we do all that, we'll start gold leafing, and that I think is going to be a lot of fun. Gold leaf time. So we're going to trace on the Tennessee Volunteers logo and the Georgia Bulldogs logo. I tried doing Old English, and the G just didn't really turn out. I think the T and the R are great. The G, well, you can't even tell it is. So, such is life. I practiced with the T and the G. Here, I use silver marker to get it in, and that is much more legible, and I'll do much more attention to detail when we do the real thing. By the sealer, I'm using the Mona Lisa Speedball Metal Leaf Sealer. I'll leave the description below. It says here the dries clear in 15 to 30 minutes, so we shall see. Which is actually great because the wife just got dinner done. So it'll give me good time to go eat. Let us apply this gold leaf, and after watching a few people on YouTube, it definitely seems like there's just kind of just put it on there. See what Would You Make It talked about, that sometimes it's too
paper's too thin that you need to fold it over on itself sometimes. Make sure that it gets in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I just realized I lost a lot of footage there. So I laid down a towel because I felt better with the clamps going directly onto the wood, that it would be better. I'm sure it's super overkill, sure it's not needed, but I'll feel better. Next, what we're going to do is lay down 2x4s as coals. Now we're finally able to apply sealer. We're going to use some de-wax shellac. This is the stuff that Would You Make It uses on just about every single one of his boards. We're going to go overkill with the amount of finish that we're going to put on this. This is one of Would You Make It's ways he did early on in his videos, I think before he figured out what he wanted to do. I would only use lacquer and this shellac if I had a sprayer, but I'm going to go a little bit more than that, mainly because I don't know what I'm doing. I want to test some stuff out, and yeah, that's just about it. Once I sell my other boards, then I'll buy a compressor and all that fun stuff. Okay, so the shellac is dry, and now we will do 600 grit sandpaper, do a light sand, and then we'll apply our polyurethane. Now we're going to apply 5 coats of clear gloss polyurethane. I'm going to end up with a satin finish, but I want to use 5 parts of clear gloss because if I went with just the satin finish according to Would You Make It, the silica particles would add up and it would create a milky looking layer. So we're going to do 5 coats of clear gloss, then we'll use the last one with satin. Just brush this on now. So we've done 5 layers with the clear gloss polyurethane, and now we are going to do the satin finish polyurethane. We have sanded each time with 320 grit so that the next coat can adhere well. Again, still using same polyurethane, just a satin finish. Doesn't help either that I'm using a $2 brush from Lowe's. It says to use a high quality synthetic brush. That I am definitely not using. It also says to not overbrush, which, whatever that means, either way, I'm sure I'm doing it. But we've reached the second to last stage. We are going to apply walrus oil and pumice stone to do a fine grit sand. Well, we have reached the end of our journey. It's bittersweet. I'm happy that it's over, but I'm also sad that it's over too, because I really enjoyed working on this, regardless of all the mistakes that I've made along the way. So I've decided that I'm going to go with the Walrus Oil Wood Wax, just because I use the Walrus Oil oil. I just figured I'd be consistent, and we could try on my next board some of the other things that I can finish it off with as well. Like I said, everything was overkill, but I think it's been fun. We'll go ahead and we'll lay down this wax and be done with it. I'm using 4/0 steel wool to apply. Okay, so we'll let this sit on overnight and let it all soak in. Not so much just because the polyurethane is there, but it's been fun. I hope you've all enjoyed watching, laughing, and definitely have a lot more chessboards to come. Still have our dark walnut and cherry to finish. Still got this other purple heart and ash as well. And we'll be doing a lot more throughout the coming months. So let's go ahead and show you how it looks like finished.